Okay, so this is kind of a kit that's, pretty inexpensive. Has pretty much everything you need to suture. This is Bear Independent sells this at Refuge Medical. So it's his Rothko surgical kit. There's two different ones, but both of them come with this instrument kit. So let's go ahead and peel this open here. So in this one, you'll have your practice suture. This is silk, obviously, so this is something just to practice with it. Comes with a light, so if you're out in the field, got to suture in the field, whatnot. So I'd say maybe just get you a little better light, especially one. Streamlight makes one that you can actually clip onto your hat, so it's got a little to place on your hat this way. And this is a rechargeable. It's a 200 lumen flashlight that I always carry with me. So most people, when they're out in the field, they're wearing some sort of ball cap. So this is really handy, and it's really bright as well, and it's got 2 modes. So anyways, this kit comes with 2 surgical blades, alcohol prep pad, this BZK, and a septic towel. So ideally, you would take your instruments, bag them. Obviously you're going to put them in a solution first. It'll be not chlorhexidine, but I'll remember it at some point, maybe tomorrow. But you'll run them through an ultrasonic, and so what that ultrasonic does is it vibrates all the bacteria and any particles or dirt that's on these, and vibrates them loose. And then you take and let them air dry, and you bag them, and then you'll whether you're running a wet autoclave or a dry. So your dry autoclave is basically an oven, basically, on your dry. It's I'll forget the type of oven too, but anyways, I'll talk about that at some point in time for a makeshift sterilizer. Now this is all, like I always say, this is for austere conditions, and so that it's for situations where you don't have everything you need. Okay, you don't have the ability to go to a doctor. You're having to provide self-care, or care to a friend in a pretty bad situation. And so, so let's go through this kit. So this is a number 3 blade handle. Should be able to take quite a few different surgical blades. This is a number 11 surgical blade, and this other one is a number 10. So we might pop these open at some point in time and look at them. So you'll want to look at these because they go on a particular way on the handle. You'll want to use a hemostat. Don't grab the sharp edge of it, but grab at the base of it, of the blade. So I'm just showing you on this wrapper so I don't have to open these. And there will be a little angle on one side of the blade. Get my camera better here. One side of the blade that's angled, so you'll want to get that angle lined up with this angle here, okay, or it won't ever lock in. It's whenever it flips over this back portion is when it locks in, and if you have this angle wrong, it won't ever lock in, so it'll always be kind of loose and trying to come off. So let's get that out of the way. This is your straight hemostat. This kit, I believe, comes with 2. So straight hemostat doesn't have a curve. Let's see if I can find. There's your other curved or your straight hemostat, so going in the same direction, and then your curved. So if you look at the 2, the tip is curved on this one, obviously. So you might have to use this in a situation where you can't quite get these straight hemostats in there, to get your, basically your flip of your wrist to get your needle to drive. Okay, so 3 hemostats, 1 curved, 2 straight. Needles, suture scissors. Okay, these are decent quality, so might be one thing that you want to replace. They don't quite come back together the best, but they'll probably still cut for you. But this may be something that you replace in that kit. Everything else looks great, but if you're having a hard time cutting your sutures, it can kind of be a pain in the rear. Just some tweezers, just some little pickups here, so you can use these as you're driving your needle as a pickup. So you can pick up the tissue, drive your needle in, and then pick it up on the other side, grab your other side of your tissue, drive the needle in, and then pick it up, and then you can start doing your ties for interrupted, or do your start of your other types of sutures. Okay, so this is a suture pick. I don't ever use these because if I have to go hunt for my needle on my suture, then I just use my hemostat. Never had a use for it. And just like this holder, I've never had a use for a holder, but if you get into some deep wounds, I could see how you might need to kind of get down in the middle of it to grab it. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to use these. So the big thing is you don't like grab them like this or grab them like this, like you're cutting paper, because you have no control. So it allows your hemostat to kind of wiggle in your fingers. So you're going to use your ring finger and your thumb, and then typically if you have room, there might be situations that you have to use them this way, but ideally you're going to use them in this fashion. That way you have more control of your needle driver. Because if you're trying to punch through like tough tissue, you may not always be able to do it that way. You have a little bit more wrist rotation when you kind of grab it this way versus the other way, like this. It kind of gets a little uncomfortable for me, but you just have way more control using them with your ring finger in, and then having these other 2 fingers controlling the end of the hemostat. Okay, so get this stuff out of the way, get our towel back out here, make our grandpa butt. Okay, and then don't waste your sutures, so don't waste them. So you're going to set it up just like this, in front of the swag back here where the suture goes into the needle, and then you're going to come in here, and the only thing that you might do is you might bend these locks on the back just a little bit so they hold a little bit better. Because the last thing you want is for them to come open and then you lose your needle off into a non-sterile area. Okay, idea, in the field that you might not have the most clean environment, but you try to disinfect the best you can, because there's nothing sterile in the field, but you try to do the best you can, whether that's, you'll want to know if if your patient has an iodine allergy, because people do have those and it's very deadly. But before you use like a betadine is amazing. It's great disinfectant. But if they have I've got a buddy of mine has an iodine allergy, and he was going in for CT, forget what it was that he's going in for, but they gave him iodine and it about killed him. They had to pump him through with a bunch of like Benadryl and a few things like that. So anyways, for me, I'm always grabbing the needle. You don't want to grab the end of it. You might even, just for your first times doing it, you'll come here and maybe even hold it with your tweezers, reset it, and then come back through the other side. And you can always use your tweezers to help push it through. This towel's really thick, so we're suturing pig hide. Okay, so we're going to go back through a suture that we've already learned. We're going to do our simple interrupted. So again, we're going over the top away, so your line is going over the top and going away. Your hand is going away from you. Okay, so grab your tail. Okay, and pull tight and try not to disturb it once you've kind of got that tied. And now you're coming back over the top like so. Grab your tail, and these looking like they're not grabbing quite the best. So I'm coming over the top towards me. So I'm going to kind of angle these so it gets on some of those teeth in there so it holds a little bit better, because that's pulling out of my hand or out of my hemostats. Okay, and now we're going to go back the same way we did the first time. So we're going over the top of our hemostats away, and then we're going to grab our tail and suture down. Okay, so the thing you want to make sure of is that that's solid. So I'm underneath here, I'm pulling on my suture and it's staying. Okay, nothing's pulling loose. If it pulls loose, you didn't tie it correctly. Okay, so we're going to come through and always try to use these to get your hand out of the field. Whoop, move my camera. There's my scissors. So we're going to leave suture above the knot, and we're going to cut it. So looks like these cut better more towards the hinge. So I can just take this out now. So most of the time you're going to leave your sutures in for probably 2 weeks, at least, depending on how big of a wound, etc. Follow up with your patient, make sure it's looking good. But one thing I always like to do, I always take the tip of my needle and I'll place it in my hemostat where it's not going to poke anybody, because that's the last thing you want, is have a puncture from a bloody needle or a syringe needle or a suture needle. And so I always put it in my hemostat just like this, and I say sharp, and I set it I show it to my assistant, and I'll take and set it on the side away from everybody, and that way they know that this needle is in these hemostats right here, and that helps protect everybody. Okay, so yeah, that's just using the Bear Independent Rothko surgical kit to tie a suture, and just a simple interrupted. So practice those simple interrupted. Eventually I'll find some needle drivers for y'all that'll be, you know, fairly inexpensive, that you can use on smaller sutures that will hold those smaller needles and things like that. So if you get some of those in your kit. So have a good one.